Hey YouTube, this is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football, and we've got your start and sit video for the quarterback position. We are talking week 10 of the NFL season, and hopefully you guys have already put yourself in a good position for the playoffs and get you some wins this week. So let's jump right into it. Week 10 of the NFL is here. We are talking quarterbacks. So hopefully this helps you guys out. There are 4 teams on a bye. You've got the Browns, the Raiders, the Seahawks, and the Packers. So some pretty good quarterbacks that will not be playing this week. Hopefully this list kind of helps you guys figure out who you should play this week and maybe some quarterbacks you want to put on your bench. So obviously starting the obvious quarterback, right? These guys are going to be the ones you're going to put in your lineup no matter what the situation is going on or the matchup is just fantastic. These quarterbacks should be in your lineup without question. Now, the first quarterback I'm going to mention this week is going to be Sam Darnold versus the Jaguars. Sam Darnold was a top 10 fantasy quarterback, but has fallen down so far this season. He has a great matchup this week against the Jaguars, who are allowing the most touchdowns to quarterbacks with 21 passing touchdowns so far this year. Darnold in the last 3 games has averaged 2 passing touchdowns and 17.8 points a game. Jaguars are also allowing the second most passing yards per game with 275. This is a great game for Sam Darnold, great game for Justin Jefferson, and really the Vikings as a whole. I like a lot of the players in this one, and again, Sam Darnold should be in your lineup. Another quarterback I like this week is going to be Brock Purdy versus the Bucs. Purdy is coming into week 10 as the quarterback 10 so far this year in fantasy, and that is with the chaos going on. No Christian McCaffrey. They've been without Brandon Ayuk. Juwan Jennings has been hurt. Like, there's a lot going on in this 49ers offense, yet Brock Purdy has been the most consistent player. Now, Christian McCaffrey is expected back. They've got Pearsall, their first-round pick, obviously playing the last couple of weeks, and that only is going to help Brock Purdy going forward. He's got a great matchup against a really soft Buccaneers secondary that is allowing 273 passing yards a game and 23.5 points per game. So great matchup. Purdy's getting a lot of his weapons back, which is fantastic and only great news for him. And if you haven't really had him, and maybe he's on waivers, kind of surprised if he is, but again, his pieces are coming back. It's going to only help him for the rest of the year. Another quarterback I like this week is going to be Daniel Jones versus the Panthers. I know I mentioned Daniel Jones in my waiver wire video, and hopefully you guys checked it out because I really do like his matchup this week. Jones just had a 3-touchdown performance last week, which is not something he's known for, but he had a great game last week in fantasy. He's now facing a Panthers team that is allowing 2 passing touchdowns per game, 235 yards in the air, and an average of 19.3 points per game. DJ still has to take advantage of this matchup, though. It's not a shoo-in, but he's definitely worth a play this week because I do think this is going to be another solid week for him. And the last quarterback I like this week is going to be Aaron Rodgers versus the Cardinals. Rodgers is another player I mentioned in waivers that you should consider grabbing, especially with the schedule he's got for the rest of the season. But Rodgers has been playing well the last couple of weeks, especially with the addition of Devontae Adams. It definitely has helped. He has the ability to help Garrett Wilson as well, because again, you can't just focus on him. Devontae Adams is still a top-tier wide receiver. And again, both receivers are great safety valves for Rodgers. I would love for them to utilize Breece Hall a little bit more, even in the passing game, so we'll see if that plays out. But the Cardinals are actually a great matchup for the Jets. Cardinals are allowing 242 passing yards a game and 17 points to the quarterback position. Plus, since the Jets have traded for Adams, you got to give it credit. Rodgers has averaged 2 touchdowns per game, 240 passing yards, and 16.8 points in fantasy. So that has helped a lot. Not saying the Jets are all of a sudden a Super Bowl contender, but the Adams trade has helped. It's taken some time, right? You've obviously played 3 games so far together again, but it's only going to get better in the season. Aaron Rodgers is definitely a quarterback. They may actually end up helping you win this year in fantasy. Now, jumping into the sits, these are quarterbacks I don't love this week. The first quarterback I don't love this week is going to be Kyler Murray versus the Jets. Keeping in that same game, the Jets defense, even though they're not as dominant as they were last year, they're still a pretty good defense. For the season they are having right now, they're only allowing 13 points per game to the quarterback, 181 passing yards, and also have only allowed 6 touchdowns so far to the quarterback. Murray has had some great games, but he's definitely against tougher defenses, he's struggled. He's only averaged 11.4 points a game and thrown for an average of 184 passing yards. Two defenses that are actually in the top 10. So this is something that I think Murray could struggle. I think Jets defense is obviously looking at how well the offense is playing for them, and I think they can end up stepping it up and making this tough for the Cardinals. Another quarterback I don't like this week based off matchup is going to be Caleb Williams versus the Patriots. Caleb Williams was on a hot streak, but unfortunately the last two games he has struggled completely. Only averaging 9 points a game, and that was against a really soft defense in the last 2 weeks. So kind of surprising he's really underperformed. In that 2-game stretch, he's only averaged 174 passing yards. Has yet to throw a touchdown in those 2 games. And now he faces a middle-of-the-pack Pats defense that could keep Caleb's poor performance going. Patriots aren't an outstanding defense, but enough that I think defensively they can kind of give him some trouble and make it tough for him still. Now, I'm still rooting for Caleb Williams. I still think he has an ability to have a strong finish this season. But right now, until he shows me, I don't feel really confident in starting him so far. Another quarterback I don't like this week is going to be Justin Herbert versus the Titans. Herbert has actually played very well the last couple of games, so it's hard to kind of put him in that sick category, but you have to lean a little bit on how well the Titans defense has actually played. They allow the fewest passing yards in the league with 172 per game and only allow an average of 15 points per game. Where the Titans have struggled, though, they have allowed a passing touchdown per game, so there is some light at the end of the tunnel if you really do have to play Justin Herbert. But realistically, the upside is maybe 13, 14 points this week, which isn't enough for most people to have a really great week, especially when those quarterbacks are putting up 18, 19, 20. So there's probably a lot more options out there. So if you can, I would sit Justin Herbert this week. And the last quarterback I'm going to sit, it's going to be Bo Nix versus the Chiefs. Bo Nix is quarterback A for the season in fantasy so far. And I do believe he could finish as a top 10 quarterback in fantasy this season. But my worry is that this is definitely a week I would kind of stay away from him. He's going against a tough Chiefs defense that has given up some touchdowns the last few games. You got to give him that. But they've only allowed an average of 217 passing yards and 16 points. Where Nix has benefited in fantasy has definitely been because of his legs. And as of late, the Chiefs are actually a really good team that's been able to keep quarterbacks in the pocket, not allowing a lot of rushing yards, both running back and quarterback. And you're going to have two really good defenders like Chris Jones and Karlaftis that are actually going to try to put pressure on him. There's not a lot of weapons for the Broncos that the Chiefs have to really focus on, right? Take Cortland Sutton out, Javonte Williams, and that's about it. So there might be a lot of running for Bo Nix, and it might salvage his game, but I'm going to sit him this week. Now, my sleepers for this week, I've got Matthew Stafford versus the Dolphins. I got Russell Wilson versus the Commanders. I think both guys have great matchups. Obviously, they're a lot healthier. Mike Williams is now got traded to the Steelers. We'll see if that adds any value to George Pickens. I don't think it does anything to affect him, but it might add some value. I like both these guys as far as my sleepers. So those are my start, sits, and sleepers for the quarterback position for Week 10. Of course, if you guys have questions, hit me up in the comments down below. I'd love to help you guys out. If you haven't already, check out my other start and sit videos that are out there as well. And of course, have fun, enjoy the Thursday, early Sunday, and Monday night games, and have a great one.